Imagine a silence so heavy it rings in your ears. A stillness in the deep woods where every snap of a twig feels like a deliberate message. You have crossed a threshold, leaving the sun-drenched fields of the village for the emerald twilight of the primeval forest. You feel it before you see it. A gaze from between the ancient pines. A presence that breathes with the wind and speaks through the creaking of timber. This is his kingdom. He is the Leshy, the master of the forest, the shepherd of wolves, and the sovereign of the wild. He is not merely a ghost or a monster. He is the forest itself, given form and voice. To the ancient Slavs, he was the essential spirit of the wilderness, a being whose mood dictated whether a traveler returned home with a basket of mushrooms or vanished forever into the bottomless bogs. Today, we peel back the layers of moss and myth to uncover the true nature of one of the most complex figures in world mythology. From his celestial origins to his terrifying pranks, we go deep into the green heart of the Slavic woods. The Leshy is a master of the mask, a shapeshifter whose true form is as elusive as the wind that sweeps through the canopy. In his most common manifestation, he appears as an old man, a weathered patriarch of the trees. His hair and beard are long and tangled, often shimmering with a sickly gray-green, cerulozane hue, as if woven from lichen and pine needles. But look closer at his face, and the illusion falters. He often possesses no eyebrows or eyelashes, and his skin may have a pale, bluish tint, a sign of the blue blood that flows through his veins. His eyes, large and emerald green, glow like smoldering coals in the darkness. Yet, his size is his most terrifying attribute. When the Leshy walks among the ancient oaks, he is a giant, his head brushing the very tops of the trees. But the moment he steps into a sunny glade or onto the soft grass of a field, he shrinks, becoming smaller than a blade of clover, hiding beneath a single leaf. He is the mirror of the human world, but a mirror that is subtly wrong. In the folklore of the Slavs, the Leshy is intrinsically tied to the left. His clothes, a simple kaftan or a peasant shirt, are always fastened backward, with the left side wrapped over the right. His shoes are always on the wrong feet, the left boot on the right foot, and the right on the left. He is often seen without a hat or a belt, a scandalous state for a traditional peasant, marking him as a creature outside of human society. When he tires of the human form, he becomes the beasts he protects. He may charge through the brush as a massive bear, his favorite animal, or lead a pack of wolves through the snow. He can become a white wolf, the king of the pack, or a fleet-footed hare, a red rooster, or even a giant unmoving mushroom. Some say he has no shadow, a ghost in the midday sun, reinforcing his status as a being from the other side. Where did this enigmatic spirit come from? The answers lie in a fascinating blend of ancient paganism and later Christian influence. One of the most persistent legends tells of the Great Rebellion in heaven. When Satan and his host were cast out by the archangel Gabriel, the fallen spirits rained down upon the earth. Those who fell onto human rooftops became domovi, house spirits. Those who fell into the rivers became vodianye, water spirits. And those who fell into the deep, dark woods became the Leshy. In this view, he is a demon god, a fallen angel tethered to the trees. But other stories offer a more human, and perhaps more tragic, origin. Some say the first Leshy were the children of Adam and Eve who were hidden from the sight of God. When God asked to see all their children, the couple, out of shame or fear, concealed some in the bushes. God decreed that those who were hidden would remain hidden forever, becoming the invisible spirits of the wild. Others believe the Leshy is a reservoir for the cursed, a child cursed by its mother in a moment of rage. Sent to the Leshy is considered legally his. These taken children grow up in the forest, their humanity fading as they become part of the supernatural ecology. Even a common man who dies wrongly, without a cross or by his own hand, might find himself reborn as a spirit of the trees. While we may see the forest as a chaotic tangle of roots and shadows, to the Leshy, it is a meticulously managed estate. He is not merely a resident, he is the Hosiein, the absolute sovereign, and the chief administrator of the wilderness. Every branch that snaps, every berry that ripens, and every beast that breathes falls under his jurisdiction. The shepherd of the unseen flocks in the Slavic mind. The forest animals are not wild, they are the Leshy's livestock. He is the great shepherd, driving his flocks of wolves, bears, and foxes across his emerald pastures. It is said that he cares for them with the tenderness of a patriarch and the sternness of a king, even healing the wounds of injured animals and shielding them from the ravages of forest fires. He even claims the flora as his own. The gnarled wild apple trees deep in the thickets are known as Leshochikha, grown specifically for his own table. But the Leshy's management has a darker, more capricious side. He is a compulsive gambler. One of the most surreal legends in Slavic folklore explains the mass migrations of squirrels and hares across the Siberian taiga. These are not biological impulses. They are the payment of gambling debts. Imagine, if you will, two forest titans sitting on ancient stumps under a blood-red moon, playing games of chance with cards or dice. The stakes? Not gold, but the very lives of their subjects. When a Siberian Leshy loses a bet to his northern Russian rival, he must drive his entire army of squirrels, thousands of tiny, chattering souls, across the Ural Mountains to satisfy the debt. This is why the woods may be teeming with life one year and eerily silent the next. The master has simply lost his hand and driven his wealth into another's kingdom. For the humans living on the razor's edge of the wild, the Leshy was a necessary business partner. Hunters and shepherds could not simply enter the woods. They had to negotiate. For the hunter, the Leshy was the distributor of luck. To secure a successful season, a hunter would perform a ritual of submission, often at a crossroads or by a lightning-scarred tree. He would offer the master tobacco, bread with salt, or even a drop of his own blood, sometimes signing a contract with a blackcock's feather. If the master was pleased, he would literally drive the game, squirrels, sables, and foxes, straight into the hunter's traps or under his gun. But this luck was a heavy burden. The contract had to be kept in absolute secrecy, for the Leshy is a jealous business partner, and his revenge for a broken word is often terminal. The relationship with the shepherd was even more intimate and terrifying. In a ritual known as the forest handover, Atpusknaya, the shepherd would enter the woods at the dawn of the grazing season to lease the master's protection. The price was steep: a gift of vodka, a special Easter egg, or sometimes the promise of the finest cow in the herd, a beast that would inevitably vanish or be taken by a wolf as the Leshy's rightful commission. Once the pact was struck, the Leshy became the ultimate guard dog. He would ensure the cows never strayed and that the wolves, his grey dogs, never touched the livestock. In some villages, it was whispered that the shepherd didn't even need to work. He could spend his days drinking or sleeping while the Leshy himself, invisible and tireless, grazed the herd and drove them home at sunset. But the Leshy's employment came with a harrowing code of conduct. To maintain the contract, the shepherd became a prisoner of the master's law for the entire season. He was forbidden from cutting his hair or nails, from swearing, from washing, and most crucially, from any intimacy with women. He had to walk the woods as the Leshy walked, half wild, stripped of the comforts of human society. To break these taboos was to invite the master's wrath, which could manifest as the total loss of the herd, a sickness that rotted the mind, or the shepherd being whipped by invisible branches until his eyes were extinguished. In the wild economy, the Leshy is the bank, the judge, and the executioner. He reminds us that the forest provides, but it never provides for free. Every gift from the green world is a loan, and the master always comes to collect his interest. If you enter the forest without respect, if you whistle or shout or mock the echoes, the Leshy will decide to play with you. His most famous trick is the blood, the supernatural disorientation. You might be walking a path you have known since childhood, but suddenly, the trees seem to shift. The path vanishes. You walk for hours, only to find yourself back at the same lightning-scarred stump. You have been circled. He is an acoustic mimic, a master of the forest echo. He will call to you in the voice of your mother, your neighbor, or a crying child. He will clap his hands, and the sound will thunder like a falling tree. He will laugh, and the sound will ripple through the leaves, making your hair stand on end. Sometimes he is more physical. He might hide your basket of berries or unhook the wheels of your cart. But he can also be deadly. In his anger, he can whip up a whirlwind that rips the roofs off houses and flattens entire groves of trees. If you truly provoke him, he might lead you into a bottomless quagmire or tickle you to death, laughing all the while as your breath leaves your body. While the Leshy is often envisioned as a solitary wanderer of the thickets, ancient lore suggests he is not always alone in his moss-covered kingdom. In the deepest parts of the woods, where the canopy is so thick the sun never reaches the forest floor, the master keeps a household that is a dark, distorted reflection of human life. This is the hidden domesticity of the wild, where the line between family and prisoner becomes as tangled as the roots of an ancient oak. At the center of this household stands his wife, the Leshochikha, also known by regional names such as Borovuka, Lesovika, or the Forest Mother. She is a figure of profound mystery and often tragedy, for she is rarely born of the forest. Instead, she is frequently a human girl snatched from the village world. Folklore tells of beautiful peasant girls or priests' daughters who went missing while gathering berries, only to be taken to the master's lair. Once there, they lose their human memory. Their skin may become like bark, and they remain forever as the sovereign's companions. The Leshochikha is as much a shapeshifter as her husband, manifesting in forms that oscillate between the divine and the grotesque. Sometimes she appears as a stunning, naked maiden with long flowing hair, interwoven with green twigs and emerald leaves. At other times, she is a terrifying hag with enormous, pendulous breasts, so long that she must throw them over her shoulders as she walks. She is the one who manages the forest villages, where the spirits are said to live in log cabins covered in animal hides, raising their strange offspring far from the eyes of men. When a Leshy takes a bride, the very foundations of the forest tremble. These forest weddings are not quiet affairs, but supernatural cataclysms. The revelry of the spirits manifests as violent whirlwinds that tear the roofs off village houses and snap the trunks of centuries-old trees. Travelers who accidentally stumble upon such a celebration may find themselves invited into the company, offered gifts that look like gold but turn into dry leaves, animal droppings, or pieces of moss the moment the sun rises. The most haunting aspect of the Leshy's family is the way it expands through the theft of human souls. In the Slavic worldview, the power of a spoken word was absolute. If a mother, in a moment of exhaustion or rage, cursed her child with the phrase, "Go to the Leshy," or "Let the forest take you," the spirit considered the child legally promised. The Leshy would wait for the unholy hour, often midnight or midday, to claim his prize, leading the taken child into the green labyrinth. But the Leshy does not always leave a cradle empty. He is a master of the Padmanish, or the Changeling. To hide his theft, he swaps the human infant for a creature of his own making, or even an inanimate object glamored with forest magic. A mother might look into a cradle and see what appears to be her child, but the Podmanish is a hollow parody. These changelings are recognizable by their distorted features, their refusal to ever walk or talk, and a malice that burns in their eyes. They possess an insatiable, monstrous appetite, screaming constantly until they are fed. It is said that when these creatures reach the age of 7 or 11, they suddenly vanish, running back to the forest where they belong. Or if they stay among humans, they grow into dark, brooding sorcerers who maintain a secret link to the shadows of the trees. Those human children, who are truly taken and kept by the Leshy the Leshochikha, undergo a harrowing transformation. Living in the hollows of trees or underground burrows, they wild out. They forget the language of men, their skin thickens into a hide-like texture, and they begin to understand the rustle of the wind and the chatter of the birds as clearly as a mother's voice. If such a person is ever rescued and brought back to the village, they are often silent for years, their minds broken by the sheer scale of the wild knowledge they have consumed. In the heart of the forest, the Leshy's home is a reminder of the fragility of our civilized structures. It teaches that the wild does not just exist outside of us, it actively seeks to claim what we have neglected, turning our unblessed words and our forgotten children into its own emerald kin. To step under the forest canopy is to exit the world of men and enter a kingdom where the laws of logic are inverted. The Slavs knew that the Leshy is not merely a resident of the woods. He is the mirror of the wild. To survive his games, you must understand the language of the other side, the world of the left, the backward, and the inside out. If you find yourself circled, walking for hours only to return to the same lightning-scarred stump, it is because the Leshy has walked around you, closing you within an invisible circle that separates you from the human world. To break this glamour, you must perform the ritual of inversion. You must stop, strip off your clothes, and put them back on inside out and backward. You must swap your boots, the left on the right foot, the right on the left. You must even flip the insoles in your shoes upside down. This is not mere superstition. It is a symbolic transformation. By turning your world inside out, you become one of his own, a creature of the other side, whom the Leshy can no longer see or influence. Some legends even suggest that if you are truly desperate, you must walk backward out of the forest, retracing your own steps to unbind the trail the master has tangled. When the master of the forest shows his face, the traveler has two weapons, the sacred and the profane. Since the Leshy was often viewed through the lens of dual faith, duevery, the sign of the cross and a sincere prayer were considered potent defenses against him as a fallen angel. However, if the Leshy is in his more ancient pagan mood, a different logic applies. In such moments, common mat, profane swearing, was said to be even more effective than prayer. It acts as a shock to the system, a human sound so jarring that it startles the spirit into releasing its grip. There are also specific protective formulas, verbal riddles like "come yesterday," or the confusing mantra, "I walked, I found, I lost." If you can make the Leshy laugh, perhaps by your sheer absurdity or a clever joke, his malice often vanishes, replaced by a booming, thunderous mirth that clears the blood and reveals the path home. Respect is the primary currency of the forest. The Leshy is the Hosian, the host, and you are merely a guest. A wise traveler never enters without a hostess gift. A piece of bread sprinkled with salt left on a mossy stump, or a few copper coins tossed into a thicket, can buy you a safe passage. Hunters would offer the master tobacco, and shepherds would bring first christened Easter eggs to secure his favor. But even with gifts, one must follow the strict etiquette of the wild. Whistling in the woods is a direct provocation. It is the Leshy's language, and he may answer with a whistle so powerful it rips the leaves from the trees. You must never mock the echo, for the echo is the Leshy's voice reflecting your own arrogance back at you. And, most importantly, never swear a child to the Leshy, or curse someone to be taken by the forest, for the master is always listening, and he considers such words a legal invitation to claim his prize. For those who must live and work in the deep thickets, material protection was essential. The Leshy fears the bite of cold iron. Sticking an axe into the threshold of a forest hut was a sure way to keep him from entering. He shuns the smell of salt and the protective power of the rowan branch. Ultimately, the turning of the world reminds us that the forest is not a place of human law. It is a space of balance. To walk the Leshy's paths is to understand that survival depends on your ability to bend, to respect the master's sovereign rights, and, when the twilight deepens, to have the courage to turn your coat inside out and step into the mystery. As the great forests were cleared and the roar of the chainsaw replaced the whistle of the wind, the Leshy began to retreat. Folklorists noted that as the woods shrank, so did the sightings of the spirit. He became a fairy tale character, a grandpa forest in children's books, his terrifying power replaced by a grumpy, comical charm. Yet, the Leshy remains one of the most resilient archetypes of our collective subconscious. He represents the boundary between the civilized world of the village and the chaotic world of the wild. He teaches a lesson that remains vital today. The natural world is not a resource to be plundered, but a living, breathing entity that demands respect. So, the next time you are deep in the woods and you hear a laugh that seems a little too human, or you find yourself back at a clearing you thought you'd left an hour ago, don't panic. Just take a moment. Put your jacket on inside out. Leave a little bread on a stump. And remember, you are a guest in his home. The master of the forest is watching, and he has a very long memory.